it required a lot of letting go of control, because in my mind, I needed a guarantee. I needed a roadmap to show me how I'm going to get from here to there to match the money I was making in my database consulting business.
Welcome to the Product to Profit podcast, where small business owners come together to better understand how to build and market an online business without all the confusing mumbo-jumbo. Slip into your favorite pajama pants, grab a cup of freshly brewed coffee, and kick back for today's show. Here's your host and marketing maestro, Maggie May.
Hello and welcome to the Product to Profit podcast. My name is Maggie May, and I am so happy that you are here and listening and inviting me into your personal space. Now, in today's episode, I had the special pleasure of interviewing Miss Renee Lee. Now, Renee is a soul purpose success mentor, healer, and author, and her mission is to support the new generation of spiritual teachers in teaching their truth, living their purpose, and claiming success and abundance through their sacred businesses. She's been featured in the Mindvalley Academy's magazine, Omvana, and Soulvana blogs, Creations Magazine, The Edge Magazine, and in the 2016 Coaches Summit. She has also spoken alongside the much famous Elizabeth Gilbert. She is also a homeschooling mom, a lit crystal lover, and a freedom-loving traveler at heart. This was a beautiful interview that we did, and I am so excited to bring her knowledge and her skill to my audience and the larger audience as a whole. There is most definitely something we can all learn from her, myself included, which you'll hear about in the interview. So I don't want to postpone things anymore. Let's go right into it. So, Miss Renee, thank you, first of all, for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot to me. How are you doing today?
I am doing really good today. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And I have to ask, what is the weather like where you are?
It's sunny today. It's comfortable. It was hot the last 2 days, like ridiculously hot, 90-something degrees. And today is really comfortable. So I took a drive out to the water to do some calls earlier. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So everyone that I bring onto the podcast, the first question I ask is very similar. And essentially it is, what is your product and how do you make a profit? And a profit being, revenue, income. What is your product and how do you make a profit?
Yeah, so I am a spiritual mentor and a business coach for other spiritual entrepreneurs. And what I do is I offer retreats as well as an e-course to kind of help folks to really tune in to what their soul purpose is, because everyone attracted to me are spiritual folks. And we tune into that energy, we tune into their soul purpose, and I work with them to shift and heal the blocks in their life in order to align them with success and abundance for their sacred business.
How did you get there? That's not something.
Oh, goodness.
And I ask because that is not something that you just generally just wake up one day and say, I am going to coach spiritual leaders. Like, that's not,
Yeah. My journey. So I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. And before I had children, thank you. Before I had kids, I had a business where I was a database consultant. And that was a very lucrative business. And then when I had my first child, things changed. And you should know, I've been spiritual my whole entire life. Like I've had a vision since I was age 8, and I've meditated with my grandmother since a very young age. And so I've always been connected to spirit. So when I had my first child, my son, something shifted. And I'm a very passionate person. And I was very passionate about database, and which is why I was so successful at it. I loved it very much. And then one day after my son was born, it was like a switch turned off and the passion for database started to die and it started to feel like work. And I just had this message in my body it was this frenzy energy in my body, and I knew there was a message trying to come through, and I couldn't hear it. So I told my husband, after about a week of not really being able to sleep, because I was like, something keeps waking me up, and it's not my mind, because my mind is sleeping, but I'm feeling this energy in my body. And so we went out to the water. I'm here in New York City, so we actually ventured out to Atlantic City to get closer to the ocean over there. And the message I got was, go learn Reiki. Not just get it done, but go learn Reiki. And so that was the turning point of my my life and my career. And from that point on, the passion died with database, and the passion rose with my healing business. So I started off as a healer, and that was pretty scary transitioning, right? Because I just gave birth, and we're a young family. We were buying a new home, and so to leave my lucrative business was super scary. So I straddled the two for about 2 years until I had some knee pain. And for me, being a spiritual person who understands that the mind-body connection, I realized that this was just me being afraid to step into the unknown. And so once I got that, the knee pain totally cleared up, and I said, I'm just going to go all in. Because again, I'm a passionate person. I couldn't even straddle, even though my clients were like, just outsource to consulting gigs and you can still keep the business. And I'm just like, if I'm not in it 200%, I can't. And so, so I left that. And so I went into the spiritual business. And of course, it changed organically from a healing business to spiritual mentoring to teaching folks how to connect with their spirit guides. And very recently, last year, because I keep saying yes to my spirit guidance, they keep giving me more of my next steps very clearly and loudly sometimes. And so they said last June after the solstice that I am to work with spiritual teachers, the next generation of spiritual teachers, and help them get over their fears and step out into the world as the powerful spiritual leader they are. And so that is why my focus now in my sacred business is soul purpose success, getting people aligned with success and abundance so that they can do what they came to earth to do and not feel stuck in a 9-to-5 job that they're not happy in.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on board, especially early on in the podcast, because my podcast does have a schedule of themes. And the first theme is, how to actually get started in business. And one of the things that I see, and I've been guilty of this myself, is not being clear on what your purpose is before jumping into a business. And I think this is almost rampant in the online world and in the online communities for a bunch of different reasons, but people jump in way too far ahead without really assessing their inner purpose or inner why and everything like that. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on early on in the podcast, because I wanted that message to get out there that you have to assess your why. You have to figure out why you're doing before you start figuring out the how. Because trust me, in the long run, you will save a lot of time and you will get to success faster, sooner, and probably cheaper than if you do it the other way around. So I love that how you've kind of morphed and come into things and where you are tonight, where you are today, and love bringing you on. And as a complete side note, I am a Reiki master myself, so I love that that's how your beginnings were. So I can relate to that. So when someone is just starting to get, a business idea, they know that they want to, work from home, they see other people be successful in this. What is your advice to them? What is one little tidbit that you can give them on how to actually connect to their inner soul purpose?
Yeah, it's really just connecting with your heart, connecting with what feels right for you, right? Because there are so many success stories out there. And, people are successful working in the FBA program, the Fulfillment by Amazon, selling, little dinky stuff, right? And then people are successful doing coaching.
I know some of those people.
Look, and right? It's great. And it's, those are things that my husband is considering. Those are all amazing and great. And the opportunities are all there. But which opportunity lights you up the most? Because when you're really connected with your heart to that thing, whether it's a product or a service, when you're really heart connected to it, that's going to help you navigate the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. it is not easy to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, you know this, Maggie. Yeah. There's going to be, times where it's scary to make that ask, to put yourself out there and to be like, hey, here's me and here's my service. And sometimes get vulnerable when you put yourself out there. Yes. In the world as an entrepreneur. And sometimes you have to face a lot of no's, a lot of rejections before you get your yeses. And sometimes it's feast or famine. Like, if that's the belief you subscribe to, then you're going to experience feast or famine. And so it could be a roller coaster ride. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of strength. And so if you're connected with your heart to that service, to your why, it will help you navigate those bumps along the way. And so you just tune in, right? I would just say, like, put your hand to your heart and really check in and say, well, there's these two products, perhaps, right? If you're looking to sell something, which one is right for me to sell now? And just tune in. And it's usually the first thought that pops up. And then if you have a second thought pop up, that second thought is usually ego and your head talking, but you want your heart. You want to listen to your heart. So it's usually that first message. And that would be my biggest tip, is to always just check in with your body, with your heart, and see what is lighting you up, what you're more aligned with.
Yeah, and something that comes to mind as you're saying that is, for me personally, I would still want to improve parents' lives, regardless if I got paid for it or not. That was kind of my my aha moment, and one of my turning points for me was my inner drive is much deeper than the financial gain. And I know, I don't remember what it is. I just remember it as the pyramid of needs. If you can't put food on the table, it's going to be really hard for you to focus on what it is that you're actually aligned to. And I understand that, I am fortunate I have food on the table. I don't necessarily have to worry about that. But all things aside, for me, that was the turning point. It was, what would I do if I wasn't going to get paid? What would I still want to contribute to society? How do I want to be known? How was I giving back? And once I figured that out, it helped kind of spur everything else on.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like, what is the impact I want to make in the world?
Yes. What do you want to get known for? And it doesn't have to be anything big. We're not talking about becoming the next Tony Robbins. It's about just the people whose lives you touch, your inner circle. What would they say at your funeral? What do you want to get known for? How do you want to help? And there are different ways to do it, and there's different purposes to do it, and it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. But that was definitely kind of one of the things that always stuck with me. So was there any one particular mindset change that actually contributed to your business directly, like to actually make you do the switch from working in database to going on your own, or even as your own business morphed? Was there any one particular mindset belief that changed for you?
Yeah, and for me, it was just to strengthen my faith. Like, I had to trust that this is what my next step is, and the next step after that will only be revealed to me after I complete this next step. I had to really exercise trust and faith in spirit, but you can also say your gut instinct, right? Like whatever, your heart tugging at you, your heart pulling you, like really trust that. And it required a lot of letting go of control, because in my mind, I needed a guarantee. I needed a roadmap to show me how I'm going to get from here to there to match the money I was making in my database consulting business, right? It was letting go of control, letting go of needing to know how everything was going to work out, letting go of looking good even. I think we all have a little bit of that, right? Because we're perceived in a certain way. And for me, with database consultant, I was respected by both sides of my family, my in-laws and my family, because I wore suits all the time. They understood that. They didn't really understand what the healing stuff was, right? And so kind of letting go of that. And also, I was a consultant for like 7-8 years, and so I was at the top rung of the ladder making good money, and I had to start from the very bottom rung of the ladder with this new business. So letting go of the ego, letting go of looking good, letting go of control, that was really the big one, and just trusting. So with that mindset shift comes the opportunity to embrace trust and faith in my next step. That was the biggest turning point for me.
That's lovely. It's interesting that we're having this conversation here today, because I've been going through those same processes myself. I still have a part-time job in healthcare, and one of the battles that I've been going through in my own head is how do I leave something that I've gone to school to for so long, and I'm still paying student loans for? How, it seems backwards. Then I'm going to, and I'm not actually just going to quit right away, but, to quit right away and to give all that up and everything you've tried to work for. And I've been working through that myself. And then I run my business on the side, so to speak, but the other 2 to 3 days a week. But it's interesting that we're having that conversation today, very serendipitously, as I've been going through my own battles myself. And I share this just so for everyone who's listening to know that, you can do both. You can have your job and have your business, but that, even though I've had my business, I'm going on 5 years now, I still have those battles, right? I think some of these battles, you'll think that you've dealt with them, and they'll rear their ugly head, and you gotta delve and take away all the layers and everything like that. So when you're working with your clients and in your retreats and people are hitting those roadblocks, how do you actually get them to work it out? Do you have a step-by-step process other than just kind of tuning in and having faith?
Well, everybody is different, and the choice that they make whenever they bump up against that new block will determine how we address the challenge, right? But I do have a soul purpose success formula that I share at my retreats, and that formula is right energy plus right action equals soul purpose success. And it's actually deeper than that, because there are 6 components within that. There's 3 components within right energy, and there's 3 components in right action that correlate to the 3 components in right energy. But the first and foremost important thing to take away is that the right energy's got to come first. So that formula is order sensitive. You could take all the marketing action in the world, but if you're not sitting in that right energy of power and feeling worthy, and trusting, your gut or your heart knowing or your spirit guidance, then whatever marketing steps you take, there's going to be that glass ceiling, that upper limit, where, and then around there, you're going to feel like, struggle may hit, frustration may hit, more challenges may hit. And those are all signs that you may not be walking your highest path. Those are all signs that you may not be following your heart, right? And so then those are opportunities to reassess and be like, hey, let's look at the energy again. Let's start from the very beginning of the formula. What is going on with my energy field? And for a lot of my folks, my clients who are aspiring spiritual teachers, for them it's like they don't feel like they deserve to ask for money for their services. That's one thing I work with them to get over, right? And it's the feeling of not being good enough sometimes, not feeling worthy of the role that spirit is saying, hey, this is what you came to earth to do. And they're like, oh my God, who am I to do that when Doreen Virtue's doing it so much better and Greg Braden is doing it so much better? And then they get trapped in this energy of comparing, which really is a disguise for the fear of not being good enough. Like, who am I to do this, right?
Well,
and so once we kind of look at...
Right? Isn't our ego, when our ego starts to get involved, is when the fears start to rear up?
Absolutely. It is ego, because all the fear is ego, because all the fear tries to keep you safe. And the ego is also a gift, right? Like all human beings, you cannot live this human experience without the ego. It comes with it because it's a tool for you to discern and keep you safe. But as an adult, It was great when you were a kid because the ego definitely kept you safe when you were feeling overwhelmed as a kid. But as an adult, you get to choose. Do you want to stay safe and play small with your business, with your life? Or do you want to venture out and see how big and powerful you really can be? Mm-hmm. That's the game we have to play as a spiritual entrepreneur, right? And so it's kind of pushing those boundaries, saying, hey, look, fear is not going to run my life. And the way that Spirit channeled through me last year about fear is that fear is a divine threshold. Fear is not to be feared. Fear is a divine threshold. It's a gateway, a doorway to your next level of growth, to your reclaiming your power. So, in a sense, if you are interested in like self-ascension talk, it's self-ascension. As you walk through every divine threshold, as you walk through each new fear, oh my God, I can't talk on stage, even though I had a dream when I was 8 years old that I was supposed to talk on a big stage. Here's my opportunity and I can't do it. But when you do, you're reclaiming more of your power, right? And so as you do that, you are mastering fear and you are raising your vibration, because fear is a low vibration, power, reclaiming your power, is a higher vibration. So the process of understanding fear, mastering fear, is really self-ascension, is how I view it as well.
That's very interesting.
Did that answer your question?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you mentioned that this is something that you teach in your retreats. I will put links in the show notes to your retreats, but do you want to explain a little bit more of what your retreats entail?
Yes. Yeah. So it's a 2.5-day retreat. The name of the retreat is changing. This is very new. The business, I kind of communicate with the soul of my business, and the business wants the retreat, or rather the soul of the retreat wants to be named something different. It has been called the Ascended Abundance Retreat, because at the end of the day, when you work through the soul purpose success formula, which is what I go through step by step through 2.5 days, once you work through the soul purpose success formula and you achieve different levels of growth and mastery and success in your business, the byproduct of that energetic alignment is monetary, is financial gain, right? That's the abundance, the financial abundance everybody wants, because that's what's going to help them be confident in leaving their 9-to-5. But you can't have that abundance, financial abundance, unless you align your energy properly and work through the fear. You've got to do the work first, and the byproduct is that financial gain. And so that's what I do in the 2.5 days. I help them work through the right energy and the right action to align with success.
Lovely. How do you, I'm assuming the retreat is in person. How do you help those of us who are nowhere near the, Eastern Seaboard?
Well, I've led this retreat before. The next one is going to, all around the world. The next one is going to be in November, but that location is to be determined. So if they visit the website, you'll see all the details for the retreat. I'm going to tune in and figure out what my retreat wants to be named next and find out where it wants to be held. But usually it's a mountain, because I'm very called to mountains, and a lot of the work I do is supported by the energy centers on Mother Earth, which are her mountains. So it will definitely be a beautiful mountain location. I've gone to Mount Shasta for my first retreat last solstice in Mount Shasta, California.
Oh,
that big vortex over there. Yeah, where like Lemuria is under in the subterranean area underneath the mountains.
Oh, I'll have to look more.
And then I had a retreat.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's beautiful. You'll love it there, Mount Shasta. It's totally magical, absolutely magical.
Lovely.
Lots of UFO sightings around there too.
Oh, interesting.
And my second retreat was in Philadelphia this past February, and the next one is going to be in November, location to be announced.
Excellent. Well, we'll most definitely keep an eye on that, and when the final results are all laid out and hashed out, I'll share it with the community for sure. So, you come, definitely are a very confident entrepreneur, but what fears do you still battle? Because I know, like you said, like fears are a natural part of the process, right? And we're humans, and that's just part of who we are. And, you've been at this now for 10 years, so, and I know that there's still fears there. So what are some of the fears you still battle even after all these times? And I ask this question just to share to the listeners too, that it is normal to have these fears, and you will always have them. They don't go away, right?
They do not go away, because there's always that new level of growth, and you're such an infinite being with infinite power. It's always going to be there. My most recent big fear was when I got selected by the speakers committee to share a stage with Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love. Ooh, this was a retreat in Seattle. Yeah, tell me about it. This was a retreat in Seattle called the Badass Leaders Align Retreat. And when I found out they were accepting applications to speak with Liz Gilbert, every cell in my body was vibrating, and I started to actually curse because I knew, having done this work for so long, I just knew that the fear was coming up. I was supposed to be there. I knew I was supposed to be speaking with her at that event, and at the same time, the fear hit, and I was just like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. But of course, I went ahead and I submitted the application. Yep. Although I did delay it. I submitted the application like 10 minutes before the deadline. And then I proceeded to sit in the fear. And this is part of the mastery, right? Instead of going, oh my God, I'm going to say no to this opportunity because it's too uncomfortable. I could have said that. And a lot of people do. It was super uncomfortable to that whole, the 2 weeks before the selection committee came out and said, oh my God, you're selected. And then I went into a whole new layer of fear. But still, I kept on, because this is what you do when you understand what fear is. Fear tries to keep you safe and in the norm, in your comfort zone. But that's not where I needed to be. What I needed to do was get out there on the international stage, raise my profile, get more visible so I could do what I'm meant to do here on earth and have the impact I'm meant to have. So I keep saying yes to my soul purpose. I keep saying yes to my spirit guidance. I keep saying yes to all these opportunities that keep coming up despite the fear. But I will tell you, and it was a great event. It was a beautiful event. And Liz Gilbert is just so amazing. I will tell you, it was not comfortable. I binge watched TV and ate a lot 2 weeks prior to the event. But I knew
and thank you for your
that I was going to
honesty
get
on
through
that,
it.
right? Because
I knew I was going to get through it. It was just, that's just what.
Well, and I appreciate your honesty on that, because
so
being a spiritual professional that you are, we could give the example that no biggie, right? But you're still a human being, right? And so sometimes how we deal with things include, binge eating or watching TV or a house of cards or whatever it may be, whatever our little, sweet tooth is. So I appreciate the honesty in that. And what an amazing opportunity regardless. And I'm so glad that you did that. Is that something I can share on the in the show notes? Are there
absolutely, and the key here is I didn't let it win. I was riding with the fear. I was riding with the experience. I was observing it. Occasionally I would dip, and that's why I would do the binge eating. But, I would, for the most part, I was observing it and not shoving it under the carpet. Because when you do that and you say no to the opportunity, you let the fear win, you shove your healing opportunity under the carpet, you're suppressing it more and more. And it was probably already suppressed for like 20, 30 years, right? And you're suppressing it again. And so you're pushing it down deeper and deeper. And so the next time it comes up, it might be even more uncomfortable than that. So my tip for everybody in general, whether you're a spiritual entrepreneur or not, is when fear comes up, observe it, look at it dead in the eye and say, well, what's going on here? Well, what is it I'm fearful of? Why? Where did this come from? Question it, look at it, keep your eyes right on it. Because when you put your awareness on the fear, you're slowly taking your power back from the fear. Instead of being a victim to the fear, you're now reclaiming your power. And what happens with awareness, it's so powerful. It goes poof, and the fear just pops like a little soap bubble when you thought it was this huge brick building.
That's a great analogy. I do believe that you have something that we can give our listeners for free that can help them on this journey. Am I correct in that?
Yes, so there is a free audio training called How to Instantly Own Your Mastery. It's designed for aspiring spiritual teachers to start teaching fearlessly. But even if you're kind of stuck in the energy of comparing, if you have caught yourself scrolling through Facebook going, oh my God, look at that person doing that, look at this person doing that, how can I carve my unique space? How can I compare to that person? Instead of folding and saying, I'm just not going to do it because there's a million other people doing it, I urge you to sign up for this free audio training, How to Own Your Mastery Instantly. And you will get instant mindset shifts to help you really get clear on your current level of mastery right now, your existing level of mastery, so that you can own it and start going out in the world confidently spreading your message.
Well, I know myself that I will be certainly, so the link will be in the show notes for everyone who's listening, but I will be, after this recording, going out and opting in for that myself. Renee, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your passion. It is very obvious to me how much you love doing what you do and how passionate you are. That for sure comes through in how you speak and everything like that. And for anyone who is looking to, follow Renee and trying to get her support, that all her links for her social media and her website will be in the show notes. So do you have any last wisdom, any last words?
I just want all the listeners to really know that they are so special and they're so unique. Like no two souls are alike. And so if they feel a fire within them, a message, a way to serve, I would say follow your guidance, because the world needs you. The people that you're meant to serve, the people you have sacred contracts with, need you. So don't delay your soul purpose work any longer.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on, my dear.
Thank you so much, Maggie, for this opportunity. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Well, I certainly hope that you have enjoyed this week's episode of Product to Profit, the podcast. If you would like more information on any of our stories or would like to get involved and share your story yourself, please head over to our Facebook group, which is bit.ly/TM community, all one word, and request to join. And you can ask your questions and share your story in there. Additionally, all the course content that you are hearing in this podcast can be accessed from the membership site, where the downloads and the videos are hosted, and you can find that at producttoprofit.tribalmarketer.ca. And lastly, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast in iTunes and in Podbean, and leave an awesome review, because that helps us get in front of more people and to help more moms, dads, and parents out there start their own business and live the life of their dreams. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.